Hey everybody, I am on a gorgeous sunny blue sky day walk in Seattle right now, right by Lake, I think it's Lake Washington. I always get the lakes confused here. There's two of them, but it's like right there on the other side of these houses. And wow, I'm like, I have a lot to say. Let's see if it comes out of my mouth. Just have been having some really cool conversations, and I was just listening to an audio from Dr. Dane here called Getting Out of the Yuck. And I wasn't even like feeling yucky, but it just popped to listen to it, and I'm so glad I did. And which by the way, I highly recommend. He has a whole set of audios called You Got This. It's called the You Got This app. It's on Kajabi. Did I say that? And and they're all like really affordable and really powerful and different topics and stuff like that. So anyway, check it out because it's brilliant stuff. And the one I was listening to today is called Getting Over the Yuck. And I'm just like, he was talking about extrapolation, which is basically like how a lot of us actually create. And so as, you know, people that are different than a lot of the rest of the world, like I know for me, I'm like, I don't function like the rest of the world. And if you're listening to this, you probably don't either. Whether you've acknowledged that or not is another story. But we don't create in the same way that, you know, this reality does. And you know, and like things that are important to people in this world are not so important to a lot of people who have a really different way of being. And so it can be really confusing because when you're in the world and there's so much like solidity and like all these like points of view and like this is how things are done and form and structure and significance, it's like we tend to get lost, you know, and we're like, I don't even know like what to do and how to be, and I'm wrong, and you know, and that's one of the key kind of components of basically being a humanoid, which is somebody who does not function according to the rules of this reality. It's like you are always going to judge yourself. But the thing is that beyond that is this universe of what it is that you know about the future. And I was just looking at like creating the future. So I'm walking around this absolutely just beautiful, I was running, I'm super sweaty. But this beautiful neighborhood. And this is, you know, probably like the wealthiest neighborhood in Seattle, right on the lake, and you know, like lots of famous people live here and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, I was like, this whole thing could crumble, you know, and just being aware of like because as I walk, I'm like perceiving all the people and, you know, like in their homes, and it's Saturday morning and their cars are parked and everything seems peaceful, and yet there's a pandemic and, you know, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, so like this whole thing could go away. Like this whole world, like reality could go away. It is going away actually. And like aware of like, and it could include like the buildings and the, you know, like all of that. Like we don't know. We do know and we don't know. Like we don't know what's going to happen, you know, because we never would have predicted that we would be where we are right now as a world, you know, like a year ago, like none of us. I think about this a lot when I see people wearing masks, and I'm like, gosh, you know, like if you had shown me this, if you had like fast forwarded and shown me this image, you know, years ago, or a year ago, or even, you know, I would have been like, wow, that's interesting, you know. So nothing is predictable. But the thing is that this reality is created to be predictable. And everything that we put in place is like this intense control system on top of something that couldn't be predictable. Like it's not actually a possibility for things to be predictable. And it's not a possibility for us to control what goes on or to know the future in the way that we think we should be able to know the future. But there is this whole universe of knowing the future from knowing. And I always say like knowing with a capital K, like knowing that you have as a being. And it's time to jump tracks to that. And a lot of people are, yes, I am in Seattle. A lot of people are and have, and it's a completely different way, like to be actively engaged with the creation of a future, like an actual future that is possible for the planet, that is sustainable. Like the earth is going to be fine because we'll just die. Like people will just be gone, you know, and the earth will keep going. Like the earth isn't really in jeopardy, although we are destroying it. The earth is, you know, just so much more powerful than us. It's like hardly even something you could put into words, you know, and not something you could put into words. And so, but we are, so it's like what's really in jeopardy here is us, you know, like people actually living on planet Earth, which is, as Dane here has described it recently, I heard him say this somewhere, it's like planet Earth is like a gem in the universe. Like it's this shining jewel in the universe, you know? And so here we are, and it's like we're living on this planet that's like spinning around in the universe, this incredible jewel, so much possibility, trying to control it, trying to keep our future fixed, trying to know what's going to happen tomorrow from a conclusionary point of view, rather than actually having the knowing that we actually have, that is the knowing of possibilities and the knowing of a future. And that requires, like I said, this jumping of tracks to a different universe that is where choice is actually the forefront. Like choice is the primary space from which we function. And that is something that is so foreign to us because we haven't grown up learning about choice. We've grown up learning about control. We've grown up learning how to control, learning how to force outcomes, learning how to impel things at ourselves and other people and the earth and our businesses and our bodies, like having an agenda and a need and then like trying to force that into existence. But that is a reality that has never been sustainable from the very beginning, and it's dying now. It is absolutely dying now. And so anywhere that we try to continue to keep that alive in our own lives, it will profoundly and dynamically not work anymore. And this is part of what's going on in the world, this crumbling of the reality of solidity and control and you know, projections and judgments. It's dying, guys. And to me, the pandemic is just speeding it up. And I'm so grateful for that. But the thing is you got to look at these, like the universe of that in your own world. So how does all of that, like, how do those energies show up in your world? You know, because we have our own little sort of like, I don't totally love this word, but it's almost like a little microcosm in your own world of how you play out. Like, oh my God, look at these. I love hydrangeas. It just really wanted to say hello. But there's this whole universe of like how you play out in your own world, what's going on out here, and how as you do that, it becomes like so much more like those energies get perpetuated as a reality on planet Earth. So anywhere that we are actually continuing to try to do control with ourselves, with our bodies, with our lives, with creation, with our businesses, like trying to predict the future, trying to know what's going to happen, and really honestly, like trying to get it right or not get it wrong. anywhere that we do that, we are dynamically contributing to that, the perpetuation of that reality on planet Earth. And the thing is that those of us that play with these conversations, have a different point of view, use the tools of access consciousness, or even if you've never heard of it, but this is resonating with you, it's like we have an incredible potency that we misuse. And it's like your potency has to go somewhere, you know? It's not an energy that can ever stay stagnant. It has to go somewhere. So where it goes is into the perpetuation of this reality and the perpetuation of a solid, dying reality that can't survive. It can't. It has been doomed from the beginning. And it's just starting to speed up now. And I would say part of why it's starting to speed up is because so many of us are choosing something different. So how does choice play into this? And this is really where we have to commit to what it is that we know. And, you know, one of the tagline, or whatever you want to call it, of Access Consciousness is empowering people to know that they know. So it's not even about what you know, and yes, what do you know? But it's that you know. Let's start with the fact that you know, empowering you to know that you know, because you do know. But our knowing shows up as these very subtle whispers of possibility and these energies that if we don't nurture them with our awareness and our choice and our acknowledgement of them, they won't go anywhere. Like they die on the vine, and it's up to you to actually, because nobody knows what you know. So it's up to you to actually nurture and fertilize and harvest that knowing. And as you do, it exponentializes a totally different possibility into the world. And that's part of the extrapolation conversation. It's like as we nurture these energies that are so subtle and just these whispers of possibilities, and we choose that over the whole thing of, the solidity of this reality, because this reality is so loud, because it's so solid, and it's what everybody is sort of shouting from their heads, and we're aware of everybody's heads all the time. That's what we pick up way more than these whispers that are so much more these little wispy wafts of possibility. And that is, but the thing that's so funny, and we say everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. The thing about that is that if we really nurture these whispers, they turn into, they snowball, because we can extrapolate them into universes upon universes of more possibilities, greater possibilities, similar possibilities. And there is this momentum that gathers when you pay attention to, you acknowledge, you nurture, and you function from, and you choose these energies. And so we are there's a possibility, and I would say it's happening, and how much more can it happen right now for us to actually speed up the change and the dissolution of this reality and the change into something so much greater. But it literally isn't about you. It's not even about I'm doing a Facebook Live, I mean, I do a lot of these just because it pops, but it's what's more important for me is to actually, what I do with my own world, what I do with my own head, when nobody's watching, am I going to stay in judgment of me? Am I going to stay in judgment of whatever, of the future? Am I going to stay in fear? Am I going to try to predict? Am I going to try to, want to know what's going on or what's going to happen? Or do I commit to the presence with what I know, the presence with these subtle whispery energies that are getting louder all the time, and make that my world and make that my universe and choose to function from that. And so here's where, so when it comes, so if we look at that and we look at choice, because this is where the rubber hits the road, and this is sort of the pragmatics, as you're playing on that playground with those energies, it's as we be with those energies, you have to start to choose your future and create your future based on that. And this is where you can't have guarantees. You don't have a predictable future. You don't have a predictable reality. But guess what? You never did anyway. You never did anyway. We just have been living a big lie that somehow, someday that was going to work. But it's not. It's not a thing, you know? So in a huge way, like, you functioning from that awareness and all of these energies, it's like you have the advantage, if you're willing to choose it, because you now actually get to play with the way that the universe works. You know, we're not separate from the universe. We are very much part of it. And so as you're playing with those energies and choosing those things that expand your world, that you know can create a greater future, it's like now you're playing on the playground that the universe creates itself from. And your like creation for you is going to be so different because you have the entire universe contributing to you. You have the entire universe, like, it's like you're not fighting what is, you're actually flowing with what is, and the elegance of creation and like the ease actually that creation can be when you create based on these energies that you're aware of. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like actually choosing, like, okay, you know, so here's an example. So somebody asked me the other day, called me and asked me about, she was looking for, she was like, it's time to have a different reality, you know, and she was basically like, you know, I want to, like, I've been living in Airbnbs and I want to, you know, like, I think it would be great. Like, I think it would be a great thing to actually start to have a home and, you know, like, put my roots somewhere, you know? And so she was like, how do I do that? Like, how do I choose that if I don't have the money, you know? Because this is where, and this is the money part of the conversation. It's like, because money is always the thing where we stop ourselves, you know, because people are like, oh, I don't have it, or I can't have it, or I won't have it. But the money is also the thing that gets created from your choice. It's a byproduct of choice. It's a byproduct of creation. So if you're looking for the money to have before the choice and the creation that's going to create the money, you're not going to have it, you know, or you may have it, but you'll have more when you have the choice and when you actually move with the energies and you move in the direction of the choice and the creation based upon the energies of what you know. And so we were talking about it, and it was like, you know, how do I do this whole choice thing, you know? And she's like, what if I commit to paying an amount of money for a place to live that I don't have, you know? And this is where it's like, there's an energy there. And the energy there is, I mean, you have to look and go, okay, cool. So what will my future be like if I choose this? And what will my future be like if I don't? And I would say, like, for me and for a lot of people that I know that create a lot and like choose a lot and are really engaged with these conversations, like in the way we live our lives, that has been the thing. Like, me being willing to run as fast as I've been willing to run in the direction of the choice for the future that I know, without any definition of how it's going to show up or any need to know how it's going to show up, has been part of how I've created what I've created in my life. But the thing is that there are the moments where it's like, so I was talking to her and I'm like, okay, so if you choose this, like, yes, okay, this great question, what will your life be like in 5 years? And if you don't, what will your life be like in 5 years? But it was more like, so there was that, but also this sense of like, if you're choosing to use money, like if you're functioning from predictable reality with money, and you're like, because this choice to buy, you know, rent an apartment or whatever, it could have been like, it could have come from this energy of like, I need to settle down, I need to solidify, I need to slow down, I need to like do what everybody else tells me I'm supposed to do. Like, it could have come from other people's points of view or whatever. And this sense of like solidity and a contraction of her universe, you know, but it could also be a choice where you're like, whoa, if I choose this, I will create it. It will show up. Like, the money will not be a problem. And I know, and there's this like fun and joy and expansiveness and like this extrapolation conversation, you know, of like, oh, that energy, yes, boom, that energy, yes, boom, boom, boom. Because as soon as you choose and you actually choose, your being gets added to whatever it is that you're choosing. Your awareness gets added, and there's an explosion of possibilities. And that is actually how we create. That's how we create money. That's how we create a future. That's how we create. And but you have to trust yourself so dynamically to function from that. You have to be willing to know that you know, to know what you know, to know, and to follow these energies that seem like nothing, and jump and leap and go faster and jump faster. It's like, how many cliffs can I jump today? Not from the proving of, oh, if I jump lots of cliffs today and I make lots of choices and I choose things with money that, you know, I choose things that I can't afford or I don't have, or like the proving that you're using the tools or that you're engaging with this universe, that's not going to create a greater future for you. And it may be that there's something for you to choose it's for you to choose later on and not right now. But when it has this sense of like total lightness and total expansion and total exponentialization of your being, of your future, of the future, where you're like, if I choose this, I'm actually creating a future that is so beyond anything. Like, I'm nurturing the future for all of us of unpredictability, of generativity, of like communion with the earth, of communion with possibilities, of communion with other people, no matter what our points of view are. Like, I'm nurturing that reality, and what you're choosing has that energy of like, wow, like that it contributes to your life so much. Then whatever you choose from that energy, the money is going to follow. Like, it's part of how it works. And so it's so cool, because if you leap and leap and leap and just play leapfrog, or like, I always see the image of like jumping across a stream, like rock to rock to rock to rock. And if you go slow when you're doing that, it doesn't work out so well. You'll fall in. But if you keep going and let the momentum carry you, it will carry you. And, but it takes courage. It takes like developing the muscles of choice and creation. It takes nurturing the future. There's so many things that, and it's literally this like completely different universe of creation and being and knowing and perceiving and receiving and committing to actually functioning from that. And that is, that's what I wanted to invite you guys to today and just play with. That's what's been kind of mulling around in my world this morning. Because the more we do that, and it's not going to look how you think it's going to, but the more we all commit to whatever that is for you, however that shows up for you, and what you know about all of that, the more you commit to it, the more you live as that. Like, I mean, God, it's fucking fun, you know, like there's so much joy there. There's so much fun there. There's so much living and engagement there. And it's so different than how the rest of the world is functioning. And it also is about getting out of fear and getting out of judgment and getting out of like believing the solidity of this reality and the doom and gloom, you know, because if you stay now in the doom and gloom, you will go down with it. It's going down right now. So there's a sinking ship and there's a life raft, and the life raft doesn't look as, in the beginning, it doesn't look as inviting as the big ship you've been on, but the life raft will take you to another land that is far more generative and creative and amazing. The sinking ship is going to sink. It doesn't matter if it's a gorgeous, amazing, phenomenal ship. It's sinking. You know, get on the raft called your awareness, called functioning from what you know, and go and keep going and keep going and keep going. So that's my invitation to you today. And if you want more, there's all kinds of amazing stuff coming up in my world. Foundation class starting on Tuesday. The Generative Business Pods closes on Tuesday as well. There's a couple more spots. There's Business Done Different this month. There's all kinds of amazing, more conversations about this. Because to me, this is really, it's like the more time I spend playing with these conversations, and being them and living them in my life, the more, like, every day gets greater. Every day gets so much greater. But you can't, if you have to know your future, it's not going to turn out so well. But guess what? You don't have to know your future. You've never been able to anyway, in the way that this reality says, but you can know the future energetically, and you can nurture that and generate it and create it and actualize it. And we can together and it's not about us, all of us knowing the same thing. It's about knowing what the different things that we know and being the difference that we are, and actually honoring ourselves and each other for that. That's the world I would like to live in and beyond. So thanks, everybody. If you want more info about any classes coming up, you can go to heathernichols.com or accessconsciousness.com. There's lots of stuff going on in the access world as well. And just thank you for listening and being here. Please, if you liked this, share it, like it, do the thing so more people can see it. And thank you. Have fun. Go forth and have fun. Bye.